being that you were doing location work, was there a set that proved to be the most difficult and logistical challenge?
Oh gosh, would that have been the
Yeah.
Slaughter House? What do you think, Lizzie?
Ooh, that not so
I
close
don't
for me.
was it
No.
Von Kovacs, perhaps?
Oh,
Ooh.
okay. I was thinking I already had 2, but Von Kovacs is a good one.
Welcome to Inside the Set with Set Decor, a series that focuses on the design and decor of the stories that excite us and ignite our imagination, where we discuss the collaboration between set decorators and production designers and hear first-hand accounts of how these works of art came to be, from their inception, ideas on a page, to completion, when we get to sit in the dark and experience them collectively.
Welcome to Inside the Set with Set Decor. I'm Jon Bush SDSA, and today I'm thrilled to be joined by set decorator Lizzie Boyle SDSA, along with production designer Cindy Chao and Michele Yu. Three extraordinary artists whose collaboration helped bring Marvel's visually dynamic world of Wonder Man to life. Disney Plus's fresh genre-building series that blends superhero mythology with the chaos, ambition, and the spectacle of Hollywood itself. Lizzie, Cindy, and Michele, thank you all so much for being here.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for having
for
us.
having us.
My pleasure. Well, I just want to say, first off, congratulations on your accomplishment. Um, your thoughtful work in this series was a pleasure and a joy to watch. And I really feel like it's a love letter to not only Los Angeles, but the film industry. So my first question would be, how did you guys become involved? Lizzie?
Um, so Cindy and Michelle and I have worked together many, many, many times. And I think we were shooting season 4 of Black Lady Sketch Show, I think.
Mhm.
And I remember being in Cindy's kitchen and you guys were like, "Yeah, we have this job." And it just felt so exciting. And I remember you guys were like, "Are you gonna do it?" I was like, "Yes, of
Yeah.
course."
Because
Yeah,
there was a risk that you would have do a decade's worth of indie movies with us and then turn us down for the Marvel show.
yeah, but, how the project came to us, we, and including Lizzie, had, worked with, the director and EP, Destin Daniel Cretton, on a previous series called American Born Chinese, and had a wonderful time doing that show. And he approached Michelle and I one day and spoke about us being, he wanted to put us in front of Marvel for a Marvel series. And we are like, Marvel, okay. And he talked about the show, about it being something different that Marvel was going to do, something a little bit more grounded. And it was about the specific character of Wonder Man and an offshoot of Trevor Slattery and their relationship in the film industry. And he expressed wanting to show a side of the film industry that wasn't glamorous, the hustle that we see of the city and the way the industry, also hustles us, who want to be in it. And all he had to say was that, and both Michelle and I were like, "Yes, this is something that we're very familiar with. We're both
Mm,
Angelenos. Um, Not only is this going to be a fun project, but a really personal story as well."
mhm.
And we went in to the Marvel interview and basically pitched our own version of what we wanted
Wow.
for the show.
I
Okay,
mean,
let's talk about the sets.
Yes.
So, I feel like the sets are so supportive of the story. All of the environments you created visually tell the viewer who inhabits the space in a nuanced and thoughtful manner. And we could start with Simon's, and I love the evolution to Simon's apartment, the emptiness of his
mhm.
apartment, which, I admire the restraint, And it echoes Simon's despair and anger, you know, and the choice of the location I thought was brilliant, where you can see the Hollywood sign in the distance, just out of reach, you know, which is really saying something about his character. What were your primary thoughts in putting this set together? And we can start with Lizzie.
Yeah, so the episode opens with him going through this breakup with Vivian. And so you're like, as he's entering his apartment, you're like seeing his stuff coming out. And we wanted all that stuff to be like, like she's kind of like warmer and more fun. And you're just like watching it drain out of his apartment as he's going through this breakup. And so then you're really only left with, you know, the kinds of things that he would have accumulated over the years. And so, our thought process behind a lot of that was like, okay, maybe this couch is something that used to be his mom's couch. Maybe, the table and chairs, maybe he found those on the side of the road, or maybe he used to have a roommate who left them behind. And like so much of how I thought about this apartment was about like the apartment that I lived when I first moved to LA, and like the random furniture that 3 roommates ago got left behind. And so the only thing he cares about is his acting. So the things he's putting money into is like he has this like book collection and all these like Criterion movies that you barely see, but it's okay. Um, and then, his like gear for exercising because he has to be in shape to be an actor. Um, but he's not really putting money into furniture at this point because it's not his priority.
I would just love to commend Lizzie for the incredible restraint it took to not put a rug in that space. It felt
Mhm.
wrong to all of us to
Yeah.
not put a rug in
Yeah.
that space, but there were really really good reasons to not do it, and of course character is the very first thing, but also that entire set, we built it a couple of times because there was the
Mhm.
straightforward set, which we shot in, all of the time, very traditionally built. And then there was the shaking set for special effects because there, like Cindy was talking about with the practical effects, we leaned into practical effects on the show as much as we possibly could, including rebuilding a section of that living room. So specifically for a specialty shot overhead where you're seeing his world shake as his powers come into being, or his powers manifest when he's upset. But that was a platform on a shaker that we were going like this with. So that's a whole other set of concerns set deck wise, and I believe we only had one of that couch too. That was a very
Mhm.
special couch. So there's a point in the series where that couch gets destroyed because of his powers, and we had to reckon with that and have a backup plan in case they decided they needed pickups and all this stuff. And it was not upholstery that we had found, right? Wasn't that came on the couch, right? We hadn't
Yeah.
changed anything about it, and it was not easy to source.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Trevor's apartment shows his history. It's also disorganized and kind of a mess, just like Trevor. What was your concept in bringing that one to life, Cindy?
Yeah, Trevor was a fun one. We kind of touched upon this idea of Trevor, had his heyday once upon a time. He bought this beautiful apartment we shot at Talmadge Apartments because it has so much rich Hollywood history. It's in a, you know, busy street in K-Town. And it felt like it was the perfect location to shoot his, all his stuff in as if he had his heyday and now it's become like faded glory. So we were touching upon that. And I mean, the layout of that space was beautiful with its, old architectural charm. You walk into that lobby and you can just tell like this place used to be um, you know, a ritzy place. Like it had its grand lobby, ornate detail in its architecture moldings. You walk in the staircase, and then it hasn't been maintained, you know. And that felt like Trevor. Everything this character amassed had to be in his set.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
great work. Lizzie?
Yeah, we also talked about Trevor being somebody who, like, he's very, like, mischievous and, like, he's not a rule follower, and so we're like, he has spent however many decades going to all these glamorous places, being in productions and plays, just, like, stealing stuff, you know?
Mhm.
Like, whimsically, not in a bad way, but, like, it kind of gave us this motivation for all kinds of pieces of set dressing that you're like, "Well, he just thought it looked cool," you know? And, like, he just wanted it or he felt like that was iconic, and so it was this opportunity to really bring a lot of stuff into that space, and I also have to shout out my buyer, Avery Ferguson, who was the lead on this set. She did a phenomenal job, and then when we come back to that episode or that apartment in episode 8, we actually built a section of that apartment and had to match it all, because we didn't go back to that location, and, like, she did an incredible job going back and finding, like, the few pieces that were from the homeowner and, like, matching everything and, like, the chandelier and
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I
yeah,
couldn't tell. It was great. It was seamless.
yeah.
Yeah. Another outstanding, I mean, all the sets were outstanding, but, Simon's Mother House in Pacoima was so welcoming and nurturing. It felt like a great big hug to me. Did you
Thanks.
guys have much direction in the script to work off of on that, or was that just more, you know?
Don't recall a ton of description about the house itself. There was a vibe you could get from the dialogue and from the stage direction about how, um wonderful his mother was and how loved she was by the community and these when you're reading the script you're looking for these sort of character clues about who this person is, who they are in the world and how they function, and that really informs what the house is supposed to look like, right? So for her, Cindy and I, for the initial concept of what our space should be, we really drew from our own upbringings as children of immigrants. That's a big story point in episode 3 that you see a glimpse of his home life and you see the larger fabric that Simon is pulled from,
Mhm.
and that he's just following one little thread for his Hollywood dream. But actually, there's a whole history and a family and context. But his mother, we really saw her house as a welcome, a moment of relief from sort of the starkness of Simon's existence otherwise, his loneliness. We really wanted you to see that this is a guy who has love available to him, but he doesn't know how to reach for it, not even from his own family. So we want to rip him out of that cold blue apartment, so spare, so empty, so intentional, and then put him into this chaotic, warm, wonderful hug of the space for his mother. So, that was a location for the most part. The kitchen was a build because of really specifics, special effects action that had to happen there and stunt action. But most of the house was a location, and we walked in, and it was, standard location, all white walls. The yard wasn't quite right. Like there were some furniture pieces there that seemed okay, but we knew we'd have to swap out a lot. And we were working with a cultural advisor on the show, which was so prescient of, production to partner with.
So you guys used, I know there's a lot of stage work, but the practical locations, that you guys touched upon really just, somebody I've lived in LA for 30 years, the historic theaters, the studio lots, the Soden House, plus all the second unit work, of capturing the giant on the side of the freeway holding the muffler and, the, hot dog cart outside of the theater, and all those little bits of life really brought it to life. Um, Being that you were doing location work, was there a set that proved to be the most difficult and logistical challenge?
One.
Von Kovacs, coincidentally, was the set we were going to film the day we shut down due to the strike, so we also had to
Well,
that set was ready to go, and it was massive, all
Mhm.
correct,
Yes.
and of course,
Mhm.
then we had to take everything out, wait 6
ah,
months, and bring it all
Mhm.
back, so
wow,
there was
Yeah.
that.
wow. What would be one of your favorite sets?
I mean, Simon's all the way for me. I mean, that one just hit home. And every person who's watched it that's lived in LA, like, always asks, was that a set or or they think it's a real place and it's not. And it's just such a proud thing to say and tell them. And no, that was a location. And it was inspired by every single one of your apartments because it
Oh,
truly was. And our set designer, Catherine Sharpless, who did that set, really did such a beautiful job incorporating all the architectural details that normally, when you live in a space like that, would not get the credit for what it is because most of the time it's just forgotten. It's deemed as ugly, and it really wasn't in this set because it really added to the historical character of these types of apartments that exist in this town because a lot of them are getting turned over to just very modernized, boring white boxes. And you have something like this where multiple tenants have come in, painted over those cabinets multiple, multiple times that they're sticky. Like that gives some kind of nostalgia of what these types of spaces are like here. And I really think that set, all of us poured our hearts into it, the whole team.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
Cindy focused on one of the builds just now, Simon's apartment, and I'm actually gonna focus on the locations that we were fortunate enough to shoot in. So I love Los Angeles. I'm a big geek for LA history. I actually think, and I have very rose-colored glasses, and I'm a native Angelino, so take it with a grain of salt. But I think LA is one of the greatest cities in the world, and one of the most interesting historically. Um, and being able to shoot in places that are constantly under threat of being bulldozed, because LA also has an unfortunate habit of disrespecting its own history and throwing it aside. So places like Tex French Restaurant, we were so lucky to shoot in it, and that of course is now gone very recently and gone very quickly. They announced their closing. They were closed at the end of March, and by 2 weeks into April, everything was sold off. So uh, incredibly tragic. And every time I watch episode 1 of our show, I'm so proud that we have that establishing shot of Tex. And the day that we shot it happened to have the perfect text on the marquee, LA's oldest French restaurant. It's like it's just and that was happenstance. We didn't request that. We're like, leave it. It's absolutely perfect. So getting to shoot there, getting to shoot at the Highland Theater, which is also now defunct, but turning into something else, and we don't know what that's gonna be yet, but all of these places that are real places that people go, that, were instrumental, to some degree in Cindy and my personal story, and Lizzie's as well, I'm sure. Um, Getting to do a show where you really see the span of all these various places where people who live here actually go, and not just we do great service to the big tourist spots too, like the Walk of Fame. Snowden House, I think, is its own category of thing that spans both, but we're so fortunate to go there. Just having that excuse with this show to
Yeah.
celebrate all of that
Mhm.
Yeah.
thrilled me. I was so happy about it. Yeah.
Lizzie, do you have a particular favorite or
Okay, so I could also talk about any of the ones that you guys talked about.
okay.
But I think something that because we filmed this, like 2 years ago at this point, 3 years for some
I
of it.
know.
I think looking back now, a lot of what feels really special to me is like all the behind the scenes of filmmaking and Hollywood
Yes.
and
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
the show within a show stuff that we did like
Mhm.
multiple times. And we did, it's funny in the 4th episode, it's so quick, but there's a late night talk show, there's a sitcom set, and we really did those things. And, all the backlot stuff and like seeing like Simon's trailer and Trevor's trailer and just getting into like, the reality of what we see and do every day. And like, it just feels like such like it's a love letter to LA and it's also a love letter to like filmmaking and Hollywood and
Yeah,
uh
and that's another, example of the restraint you guys showed. Because 'cause I've worked on projects where you're doing a show within a show, or you see other things, I won't name specific series that do it, but they tend to go over the top. They always have to throw a cowboy in or a showgirl, they can't help themselves, bringing a flat through is like, "Come on, slow," but this, it felt authentic to me, It felt real and cared for, and then the stage sets you built were such fun too.
So this is the Wonder Man movie set. This set was based off of the Wonder Man's flashback 80s scene where you see the aliens come out of this like octopus squid spaceship. And so this we knew Simon was going to explore the set. And we decided to do a version of the interior of the spaceship set where you see it in the background when he's getting interviewed by the publicist or the press person. And yeah, we wanted to integrate a lot of those organic details to it. We knew because the set was going to be exploded, that was a collaboration with construction and special effects of how these pieces were going to be already pre-cut. We would, and special effects would have their wires to pull it apart completely. And so it was a whole thing with every department of how the different phases and stages this set would be shot. So this is the clean version. And then later on, you will see Simon walk into the studio set and you see it explode. And then those pieces are shot separately without the background backing and the foam rocks. And then there's another stage of the aftermath where you see the piece is completely blown up and the stage torn apart with debris. And that Lizzie did such a beautiful job creating and kind of placing those pieces artfully in a way where the debris made sense.
Figuring out the placement of all the debris, figuring out what all those things are going to be, what makes sense to be parts of sets that has exploded. How do we place it in a pattern that feels like it makes sense for his powers? It's not a traditional explosion. And then the space lights that are hanging there. Was a whole conversation with my draper, Marcos Osorio, who's so talented, and the grip department on the lot. And like at first we were going to recreate them and then sort of realized it actually just makes more sense to just destroy them and like talk to the shop and figure out how to make them look. He went through all these iterations of it and then same with the backdrops too.
Just this moment of destruction, we wanted that spaceship set to feel like such a beautiful jewel box. He's finally made it. He's in this really cool set. This is all for him. And then in the final moment, he can't help himself, gets so angry, destroys all of it unintentionally. And just the way the structure is designed to pull apart in ribs, and it just felt like he's standing there, he's screaming, and it's like his own body almost getting pulled apart
Yeah,
with all of his dreams in it. It was
Mhm.
just a staggering moment to be on set for that.
mm,
And
Um,
also, it was a massive set because it's
the
half
whole
of a
soundstage.
soundstage. Yeah,
yeah,
and you see everything. So it was
yeah,
massive. It was so
Yeah.
many set dressers working so hard. It's like it was a lot of work.
yeah.
This is Trevor's apartment.
Okay, yeah. Old Hollywood dilapidated. Like the overlapping rugs is
Yeah.
great, and the
Mhm.
the kind of sad drapes.
Yeah.
There's an Easter egg in this frame that nobody's found yet, but I guess it's a little subtle. And I don't know if we could reveal it here. But if any of the audience is looking for clues, this is a still that you should look at.
Okay.
One of the fun things, I don't see it here though. I think this was before the set was done because in the final version of this, over that piano is a poster of Sir Ben, right, Lizzie?
Mhm.
In like a real poster. This was a fun set because we
Mhm.
used real posters of Sir Ben Kingsley from throughout his career and we're able to change out the name on them to be Trevor Slattery. So now we have created a funny MCU sort of eternal loop where uh, Trevor Slattery is Sir Ben Kingsley of his world, of this dimension.
So this is the what do you I forget the
This is
acronym for this.
the longest set name and the entire set list. This is part of the Department of Damage Control Supermax Prison. The Department of Damage Control, we see it twice in the show. The first is its office headquarters, which is in a building in Glendale, actually. Could be anywhere story-wise, but in Glendale is where the location was. That was a decommissioned police headquarters. So one fun thing for the DODC West Coast version, this is an agency that you've seen in the MCU before, and it's usually incredibly high tech, and they're in charge of the Raft, these vast supervillain containment facilities. We started the story with the note that the DODC West Coast is underfunded and unloved. Which is a way more fun place to start than they have every resource that you could possibly imagine. So they're at a point where their office is maybe even going to be shut down because they are not delivering enough. They're not delivering enough. This is a facility that was built when they had a ton of funding. It's built out in the desert, Yucca Valley, story-wise. It needed to look like a facility that had a lot of money in it, that tied into what you've seen of this facility in previous shows, because you've seen peaks of it in, I think, Ms. Marvel. She-Hulk definitely had some scenes in the same, what was supposed to be the same facility. But, we didn't use any of those previous sets. We were given the freedom to design our own version of it, as long as it related to what came before. So, came before was a really interesting concrete structure, brutalist exterior, very kind of fantastical brutalist exterior. We really, really leaned into this here because, in our tour of Los Angeles architecture, the one style we hadn't hit on that is so prevalent in SoCal is brutalism. So we're thrilled to be able to do that here. And this actually was 3 different spaces, 3 different sets. What we're looking at now, any of these hallways, any of these jail cells, were a build at Radford. We built a long hallway with some smaller cells coming off of it, in sort of an L shape with a little elbow, and at the joint was Trevor's cell. We wanted Trevor's cell to sit in the middle of a circular pathway. So the story-wise, at the end of the show, spoiler alert, this is the circular pathway. Simon infiltrates the prison in disguise and is able to find Trevor. And this is their reunion after Trevor's big betrayal and redemption, and Simon forgiving him and coming to find his friend. So we wanted to isolate Sir Ben and Trevor in a cell that felt very much like Simon was approaching him on a stage in the round. So this is us, it's kind of an octagon, but sort of a circle dropped in the middle of this pathway, where Simon comes on him from the side and ends up standing directly in front of him. You can see that the cell itself is raised a little bit. We wanted it to be a moment where the two men look at each other through these bars, eye to eye, with Sir Ben raised slightly as though he's on a stage doing his one-man show, his ultimate lonely one-man show. And designing the bars of the cell. You don't see this action. You end up not seeing the action in the show, in the final cut, but these prison cell bars, they're actually slats. They're like louvered window blank slats, but made out of metal. They do practically shift and move. So the idea is there's an electrical component, and they kind of go like this and they go like this when they open and close. But we wanted very, very minimal lines interrupting their gazes, so as thin as possible, which informed this design. But this was, we looked at architecture by Tadao Ando, an incredible Japanese brutalist architect, for inspiration, and just built this fantasy geeked out brutalist space for them to have their final scene in, and then had to connect it to a water treatment facility. Just this incredible existing vast network of labyrinthine hallways that was constantly flooding. And of course, we shot there on the one rainy day of the year, so it was really flooding the day that we shot. And then also had to connect it to an additional office space that we owed for some coverage with the DODC agents. And all of this also needed to feel related to the DODC offices in Glendale, which we really designed to feel very 70s cop show, and have that again, that another prevalent style of architecture and interior you see in Los Angeles. Wanted to hit all the notes. Such a buffet for us. So Lizzie got all these really kind of gross green steel case furniture, filled this decommissioned police headquarters with it, and yep, there we go.
Yeah, there
I
you
mean,
go.
I say gross, but I actually love those greens. There was a whole other room that was a records room that had every shade of green, file cabinet overflowing.
Nice.
We
They
painted this
totally-
whole space that specific dusty teal and brought it all down.
Yeah.
We replaced every single vertical blind with the matching dusty teal, and
Yeah.
extended some of the wood paneling. It was a whole thing, but it was really worth it in the end.
Yeah. Brilliant.
I love that set.
Mhm.
I'm sad we never saw that records room because literally we went to Advanced Liquidators and was like, we need every single shade of green file cabinet that you have.
They have a
And I
few.
think we got all of their green
Yeah.
credenzas and file cabinets and desks, and
Yeah.
the high top tables I think were a purchase that we had the paint department paint. But all the other green furniture, I'm pretty sure all of it was from Advanced Liquidators. We're like,
Yeah. Yes, the agency office, and also combined with his apartment. I love the juxtaposition of the two sets. One is full of life and work, and the other one is him trying to find work. What did you guys want to bring into the agency?
so I remember this one being one that was a logistical challenge because I believe, is this in the US Bank building?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And so it was like way up on, I don't know, some tall floor. And I remember we had to bring in all the chairs, all the computers, all the desk
Oh,
dressing, all the artwork,
brutal.
all this stuff. And I remember that they were trying to figure out how to prep it in less time. And I was like, there's one elevator.
Yes.
It's like, it is going to take time just in the elevator trips to get all that stuff all the way up here.
Yeah.
And they ended up giving us the time we needed.
Good,
But
because then it involves the other departments, lighting
Mhm.
has to get up there
Yeah.
and everybody
Yeah.
else, and it's
Yeah.
just,
yeah,
everybody bringing their carts up. That must have been bear.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's tough when there's that bottleneck.
Well,
Yeah.
and there was a fair amount of construction in that site too. So that's
Okay.
the other element of this where, you can't see it, which is intentional, of course, but
Yep.
there was a lot of, it's one of those old floors that everybody's done everything to, and this
Mm,
needed to look like a pristine, upscale, professional agency. And
sure.
we had to cover up a lot of stuff on the walls. We had to bring in whole panels, 30-foot long architectural panels to cover up sort of the sins of the space. We built out that glass conference room completely. I mean, the glass was there and that was about it. And we, all of the wall treatments, the ceiling, the light fixtures, everything, all of it was us. And, and it is a lot of fun seeing that contrast in that one scene, which is why it's
Yeah.
the clip of like, that experience kind of, I think all of us have had where you're on a profession, you're on like an interview call, or you're on a Zoom like this, or you're on something, and you're just at home in your underwear,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're in your apartment with all of its warts, and
Yeah.
you're talking to somebody with power on the other side, and
Right.
just trying to pretend that the dynamic is not skewed quite so much.
Sure.
And also, I will point out for that agency set, another fun thing and why this show was so fun is that because it was all about Hollywood and the inner workings, we could really call on uh, people to inform our design and set dressing decisions, and let them have fun too. So for instance, Cindy and I called our agent and we're like, and her assistant, we're like, can you guys tell us what would be on your computer screens? And like so that we can tell set dressing and our VTR guys and like come up with something that looks accurate and not just have like a random, iStock image on everybody's screen. So those documents, camera never sees it, but the level of detail that went into the show is every one of those documents on every one of those screens is based off of something somebody would actually be looking at an agency.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lizzie,
And I think when you go to that detail, it
Mm.
creates a world for the actors. Because I think it
Mhm.
must be such a challenge to work on three walls and, and make believe. But when you can give them objects and tactile
Yeah.
things to look at and interact with, then everybody can play make believe. And then you get these strong performances and give the actors options for choices. So you can tell it because I was also going to commend the second AD for the background work because it's strong.
Oh,
There's a
yeah.
lot of times that can take down your whole production. It's
Yeah.
just like, what are they doing? These background people wandering around, but everybody had a purpose. Everybody was doing what they should be doing. So it didn't pull at all. It was great.
mhm.
Yep.
I was going to mention one of my favorite details in Janelle's office. I think they do get an insert shot of it, but there was a little placard on Janelle's desk.
I'm not bossy, I'm the boss.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm so glad that they got a tight shot of that because it was just,
Yeah.
an added thing. And we're like brainstorming, like, she would have this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it really, really talked about her character. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think we also had some photos from your guys' agent, like either family
Yeah.
photos or pet photos that we
We
like
did.
actually dressed your real agent's photos
did.
into one
Oh,
of the
great.
desks.
We tried to
Yeah.
get away with a lot of Easter eggs on this show. And actually, we had a team, we had a couple of assistant art directors, Ryan Baptiste and Van Tran, who are Marvel obsessed fans
Yes.
anyway, and pitched a lot of MCU related Easter eggs that I will tease. Not everybody has found all of them yet. So there is more in this show if you are an MCU fan to find because there are some that we included that I haven't seen anyone mention yet.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
and they're kind of obvious. So I'm really actually surprised.
Yeah, I love her artwork. It's very inspirational. And also it kinda like when she's next to it with the pyramid going up, there's a little bit of play there on her look, like,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like a halo around her.
Thank you
Is
for
it
noticing
That
that.
was intentional.
nice.
So, I mean, Lizzie, do you want to talk a little bit about my obsession with Helmhoff Clint?
I mean, I was going to bring her up, but if you want to talk about your obsession, I think you should go for it.
Okay, so so we were so fortunate that this was clearable art. Part of Cindy and my initial pitch in the room was we want to also be able to play a little bit with the esoteric history of Los Angeles and sort of the power structures and the spirituality behind things. And there are a million conspiracies about LA and where the power actually lays, whether it's lizard tunnels under the city or over at JPL and Aleister Crowley and all of these tall tales, right? I love all of that.
Was this a practical bathroom?
Oh God.
This? Yes.
Halfway. So
That's rough.
prior to this scene, so this bathroom is supposed to be attached to the casting office, which is clearly a space they've rented temporarily for the day for the audition. And it's a very rundown building. I think it was kind of in East Hollywood, just east of the 101 in real life. And but the bathroom we needed to find somewhere else.
Mhm.
This was a bathroom at the LA Convention Center, and it was pristine. It was a beautiful, clean,
Nice work.
wonderful bathroom with a lot of space for us to shoot in. It did not have the connecting hallway. We had to build that and bring in a return wall and that
That
connecting hallway to the LA Convention Center, attach it to the bathroom there so that it looked, so they got that shoe leather moment connecting to the casting agency audition room. And our scenic team covered
amazing.
floor to ceiling this entire bathroom in clear vinyl so that they could
Wow.
tag it because there was no world where we were going to practically tag up the convention center bathroom and be able to, strike on time. So
Wow.
the whole thing, it's all clear acrylic,
That's
every
amazing.
surface.
That is a feat.
Yeah.
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 I never would have guessed. That's great.
Mhm.
It really worked out with this
Yeah.
skilled paint team. Yeah.
Oh, good. His car, man. Okay, picture cars. I love that car. Is that an old Sentra with the seat belt that goes up when you get out? I mean,
Yeah.
that just, oh, I
Yeah.
loved it. It's just like, it's so great.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
his dad's car in the show. So you
Okay.
see it established in the flashbacks as his dad's
Right.
car. And, it's all these subtle choices leading up to the moment of and the last episode revealing why being an actor is so important to him. It's this one memory he has with his dad. It's this emotional core of the show. But you see him
Yeah.
driving this crappy car the whole time, and then you find out, where it came from, and all makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that restaurant in the flashback it looked like a Tasty Freeze or one of those, but
Yeah.
that's an
Oh, yes,
iconic
Monsters
LA thing,
Freeze.
those hard plastic
Yeah.
booths outside.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and that was just like, yeah, we have that here, it's so
Yeah.
great, and I love going to those places. Yeah,
Mhm, mhm.
amazing.
Another iconic LA site, the
Yeah,
Foster's Freeze. Yep.
yeah, yeah.
And we had different versions of Simon's car as well, because it went through. Because you see a photo of it in a photo with Simon's dad, and it had to
Mhm.
look pristine, more pristine than it does now,
Yeah.
interior wise and outside wise. And then, of course, we had another version to put the car mounts on there.
Mhm.
And then we had to restore or to have a restored version um, for him to drive now. And
Yeah.
again, the paint department did such a wonderful job.
They did. The little detailing along the chrome there is just
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the
Yeah, you had
ceiling
a
falling down too on the inside,
Yes.
the interior, the fabric, the felt
yeah.
falling down.
Yeah, that's a
Uh,
great touch.
can I also point out the, genius of, Set Deck putting in those lot passes on his dashboard? Which,
Yeah,
like,
that's
we all
great.
know what those are, and, like, the standard viewing audience may not, but, like,
Yeah, and the the
Yeah.
he's
the
been
the
in
the
and out of
bottom
those
ones
lots.
had yellow just a little bit,
Yeah.
Yep.
so they'd
A
been
little
there for a
burnt
while.
from the
Yeah, I
sun.
noticed
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I
That's
yeah, I was
that's
almost
in my
looking for the
dash
Thomas
also.
guy, but I was like, "That's a little too old," but
That's
it
probably
had
under
that
the seat
feel.
still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ah, which diner is this?
This is now the Clark Street
Clark
Diner. It
Street.
used to be the 101 Cafe
Okay.
off of, Franklin, right? Franklin?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that tile works amazing.
Yeah. It's gorgeous. That place is so cool. Everything's been shot there, to the point where, every single booth has an unclearable movie still usually hung over it, and we had to deal with all of those.
I bet you did.
Yeah. Um, but this beautiful corner booth, like, I really liked this choice, because originally in the script, this was happening at a bar kind of in the middle, at night, all very undercover, and I thought it was so great to actually choose to make it daylight in this
Mhm.
iconic diner instead where, LA is Hollywood is a city of just characters, and of course, nobody's looking twice at these guys having this supposedly high level, private conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and great prop work. I like look at his phone, the
Mhm.
age in that,
Mm.
and throughout it all because you have the high-end gadgets from the Marvel world there, and then to the, gritty little bits like the phone. Just shout out. There was some really quality work in there as well for the prop. Who was your prop master?
Todd
Todd
Daniels.
Daniels.
Mm,
Mm.
yeah. I found this series to have so much heart and humor, and you find yourself really rooting for Simon. From the overall arc of the series to have the guts to start it off in that little tiny trailer, right? And to
Mhm.
build from there just shows, how on point the writing, the direction, the acting, the source music, we didn't talk about that.
Oh,
And of
yeah.
course, the craft work from, art direction, camera, costumes killed it. Everybody. I feel the series really is a great example of the skill of LA crews and our vendors. So to that means, is there anybody you guys would like to specifically, acknowledge a vendor or a crew member or anyone on your crew? That'd be great.
I want to shout out my entire crew who worked so hard, put so much themselves into it. I also want to shout out just the entire crew. Every single person on this show, like, just put so much of themselves into it and, like, with a smile on their faces, and we're such
Mhm.
Yeah.
incredible collaborators,
Mm.
and, you know, this show it was a lot of sets really fast, and making that happen, it's like we needed to have these relationships, and I don't know. It really felt like such a family.
Yeah.
And I also do want to shout out all of our prop houses, and we tried to use them as much as possible, and we can pull stuff off in LA so fast because we have all these incredible vendors who know
Yeah.
what we need, who can make it happen for us. Like
Mm-hmm.
our, you know, we got so much stuff from Universal, Warner Brothers, Pinacoteca, Lenny Marvin, but also I think we had probably at least 50 prop house vendors,
Yeah. That's great.
and
Yeah.
so it's like it's
Yeah.
so many more than those guys,
Yeah,
you
even
know?
Sure.
even all the independent artists that
Yeah.
you reached out to, like everyone was so excited to put their work in this
Mhm.
show, and it was really a collaboration between all the departments. Everyone, I mean, by the end of the of production, I mean, we had laughed, literally cried. You know, we became a family, and it was a big family too, and
Yeah.
it was great to have that support from all departments.
Yeah.
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 All departments and all crew members up and down,
Yes.
you know, everyone from our PAs to our production executives. It was a crew that, you know, much like the show is something that is very character first.
Mhm.
And that's why it's so special in this pantheon of MCU shows, you know. Um, we were a show that was being run by people, our showrunner, our executive producers, our producers on the ground who in all of our directors who really put the people first. It felt we felt supported, you know,
Good.
from above, and of course supported from below. And it was I do need to. I feel like we should shout out Joe Del Monte, our wonderful construction coordinator, as
Mhm.
well, and his
Yes.
whole team, who are just lovely, lovely people.
And his
Um,
paint team. The paint team was
Oh
so
yeah, the paint
talented.
team.
dreamy people all across the board.
Yeah.
Dreamy
Yeah.
people in every department, and yeah, when we went through a lot on this show, it was strikes, it was personal loss, it was the challenges of just a show. You know, like every show these days on a shoestring budget, trying to do a lot of ambitious things.
Sure.
From blowing up a sound stage, you know, to showing the minuscule movements of a person's eye. You know, it's like all of that was done with such care by a giant team of artists.
Is there gonna be another season? Is there? Because I binged this show, and it was just like, I want more. So is there any talk of a possible second season?
Yeah.
We hear there's gonna be one.
Right on. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lizzie, Michelle, and Cindy, for the stimulating conversation about Wonder Man. Thank you for your time and sharing your beautiful sets and designs with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Inside the Set with Set Decor. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit our website, setdecor.com.